Greetings everyone, I hope you are fine, I hope you are doing well. If you are new here, this channel is all about African history, African way of doing things, politics and many other things. In this video, I just want to talk about the situation in Democratic Republic of Congo. Probably many of you are aware that approximately 200 people have been sentenced to death. 200 men have been sentenced to death. And there are many people who are like, this is the way to go. This is a solution. And there are other people again who are concerned about this situation. But I just want to say, as people, we will always have different views, different perceptions based on our history, background, and everything. So when it comes to this situation, I have a different perspective. So I don't want to embrace a death sentence, so I may not be entirely against death sentence, but here is the thing, because I'm just a bit different when it comes to solutions, because we need permanent solutions. We don't need temporary solutions, because when it comes to death sentence, I believe that death sentence is something like a temporary solution. In other words, you are dealing with the symptoms instead of dealing with the root of a problem. So where am I going? Let me just make an example by using a family unit. Why? Because I believe that a government is like a family, or a country in general is like a family. So if you treat it as such, or if you treat it like a family, it might be easy for you to lead a country in an effective way. Because in Africa, we have many people who don't care. In other words, I can say, if I'm not mistaken, Africa is led by puppets. And if you are a puppet and then at the same time you are a leader, then people will disrespect you. People will disrespect your decisions, or people will undermine your decisions. Why? Because they know for a fact that you are a puppet. Because many puppets believe in temporary solutions. They believe in threatening people. They don't want people to talk about their issues, but they want to threaten people. The moment they see challenges, they think death sentence is the first option. So as I've said, that a country is like a family. It's like a family. And if a family is disorganized, then it means there's no hope when it comes to that family. Because if a family is disorganized, then it means the children will start suffering. Then at the end of the day, they will even want to dethrone you as the leader in that family. If you are a man, they will try by all means to dethrone you, to put you aside. And again, sometimes they'll start implementing their own rules, because even the father or even the leader in that particular family is doing as they please. They do what they want. They don't care. They don't support. They are not present. In other words, they don't care at all. Then at the end of the day, who suffers is the children. So now they have to start trying by all means to do things by themselves, to implement their own rules and regulations, to come up with their own terms and conditions, their principles in life, their life. So in most instances, then those children will be misled. So they will start misbehaving instead of, like, for an example, living by the true principles of life. Probably you know maybe one or two families whereby a family is disorganized to the core, whereby even a father is disorganized. He also does as he please, because it doesn't mean just because you are a leader you have to do as you please. You know that type of a family whereby everybody has his or her own rules in the very same family. So no one is like directing others. There's no direction. So no one is warning others. In other words, people do as they please in this family. So that is why at the end of the day, when they try to dethrone you or to overthrow you in that family, because they'll start disrespecting you, they'll start treating you in a certain way. So as a father or as a leader in that family, you might try to react by threatening them, by beating them, by doing all sorts of unnecessary things to them. Then at the end of the day, you are going to lose respect altogether. So same applies to the country. If you are a leader in a country, in other words, you have to take care of your people as if you're taking care of your own family. Why this is so important? It's because you don't want to invest in something that will end up being against you. You don't want to invest in or you don't want to plant a tree that will fall on your house. In other words, you don't want to invest in something that will end up destroying you in the future. So that is why you have to lead very well. You have to understand that your country is categorized by different genders, male and female. Your country is categorized by age. We have young people, we have children, we have kids, we have teenagers, and etc. and etc. So you have to know your people. You have to know the numbers. And then your country consists of cultural behavior, certain principles, rules and regulations, terms and conditions, and all those things. And again, your country has education. Why? Because you want these people to adhere to the culture, to adhere to the principles in your country. Why? Because you don't want to produce thieves. You don't want to produce people who will end up overthrowing you. You don't want to produce people who will end up disrespecting you. So that is why, as a leader, you have to make sure that you are always sensitive. You always take care of the needs of your people. But these puppet leaders don't care about the unemployment, don't care about poverty, don't care about all these things. Because if you are going to ignore unemployment, you are going to ignore poverty, you are going to ignore all these things, you are like a person who is investing in something that will destroy you later on in life. That is why, as a leader, you have to be careful. That is why I'm like, Africa is led by puppet leaders. They only think about themselves. They only think about their own family members, little knowing that the moment you become a leader, now you are a father of a nation, or you become a father of the nation. So if you become the father of the nation, you have to think about the needs of the people that you are leading. In other words, you should not, like, for an example, sleep the whole night without stress while people are being unemployed, while the crime is rising. And then all of a sudden now you find yourself in a situation whereby you can no longer control this crime. So the first thing that comes in your mind is army. The first thing that comes in your mind is like, now we have to sentence these people to death. It should not be like that. That is why this thing is like a temporary solution. If you are a father and then you see that now your children have started disrespecting you, now they are misbehaving, and etc. and etc., you have to do a self-introspection and say, you know what, let me see if I didn't make a wrong step. Let me see if maybe I can do something to control the situation in a better way. So you cannot start by saying, you know what, let me beat these children, let me chase them away, let me do this to them, let me put pain upon them. You should not behave like that as a leader. That is why if you are a leader, you have to be very, very, very sensitive when it comes to the issues that are affecting your community. That is why there's a saying whereby they say, a small hole not mended in time, it becomes a big hole, much more difficult to mend. So that is why you have to deal with the root of the problem. So when you see the problem rising, deal with the root of the problem, because the problems that are in Africa are as a result of disorganized countries. So if they can see that you are a puppet, you are controlled outside, there are people who are in control of you, who are in charge, and again at the same time they can see that people are doing as they please, the ministers in government, they do as they please, and etc. So even the people on the ground, they'll start doing as they please, because right now they are unemployed, right now they are suffering, there's no future. So I'm not entirely against that sentence, but to me, that sentence is a temporary solution. So temporary solutions cannot work or function like permanent solutions. So that is why I believe that African leaders should invest in permanent solutions. Like, for an example, to say, this is our cultural behavior, this is our cultural principles, and etc. and etc. So what pains me more is that there was a point in time here in Africa when there was no crime, when there was no disobedience among children, when there was no all these things. Where do they come from? So that is why, as a leader, when you see all these things, you have to say, no, in the past we didn't have these things. Yesterday we didn't have such behavior. Where these things come from? So you have to sit down and say, now we have to come up with strategies to deal with these things. You cannot have, like, for an example, 50% of a country being unemployed and still expect everything to be smooth. In other words, if 50%, 60% of the people are not working, they are unemployed, obvious you are going to have crime. Obvious you are going to have people who are committing crime on others, who are oppressing others. In other words, you are going to have a lot of victims at the same time. So that is why it's very important for leaders to think and not to be puppets. But the problem of African leaders, they don't have confidence, they don't understand leadership. In other words, they want to please other people. In other words, that is why when you look at DRC has never had peace since during the times of King Leopold II. In other words, we can say maybe over 120 years, DRC has not yet experienced peace and order, but they call it Democratic Republic of Congo. So that is why the leaders should come forward and say, you know what, we cannot continue like this. We cannot continue like being puppets and etc. So we have to lead our countries like a family. In other words, if your family has needs, if your family members have needs and you don't care about those needs, they will go outside to get some help. So that is why you have to be present. You have to be there. I don't know what you think about the situation. Maybe you might be amongst the people who think that that sentence is the solution based on your understanding. Maybe you are living in Congo. You are like, based on the situation, yes, that sentence is the way to go. But I don't think so. But at the end of the day, we have different perspectives. Thank you very much.